Hello, friends. It's Carla, your online doctor, with today's Live in 5. Today is Wednesday, September 16th, and it is 5 p.m. Sorry, my glasses are a little tinted. I was just outside talking to somebody, and now my glasses became sunglasses. So, looking a little different here. Anyway, so the big talk is how COVID-19 will affect the coming flu season. Okay, everybody I know is talking about the flu season coming up and what that will look like. Now, in March, the Southern Hemisphere had to face this issue, asking themselves all the questions. Does infection with COVID change your risk for getting the flu, or vice versa, for example? But flu season actually never came in South Africa and other countries. South Africa has one documented case of the flu since March. Now, with that said, they said there are probably other cases, but none that required any hospitalization, which normally their numbers in the past would usually be close to about 700. That's a huge difference. Now, some mild cases, again, were probably missed because clinics were also closed, but people didn't need severe medical attention. So travel restrictions, school closures, social distancing, masks, and better hand washing has stopped the flu in the country altogether. Now, similar stories exist in Australia, New Zealand, and parts of South America. That is potentially a good thing, okay? Or is it? So, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are hoping for the same thing. I mean, it's always good if people don't get sick and if people don't die from things like the flu. With few cases in the South and minimal inter-country travel, we could probably get very lucky. Now, if things, quote unquote, open up more in October, November, and December, the flu will spread more readily than in the Southern Hemisphere. Again, it's not something that necessarily comes from the South, but it definitely comes from other places, and it moves as we move. Now, if we need to differentiate flu from COVID-19, clearly the strained testing system will be even worse off. Okay, so if somebody develops upper respiratory-like symptoms, do they have the flu or do they have COVID-19? So we're also, again, at that risk of straining the testing system as people want to know which one they have. Now, other things to consider. Since the Southern Hemisphere has largely been spared, researchers have little evidence about how COVID-19 might influence the course of a flu outbreak, with the concern of getting both viruses at the same time. Okay, so back in April, Stanford University found among 116 people who tested positive for COVID-19 also tested positive for at least one other respiratory pathogen. Okay, so it wasn't necessarily the flu. Most often it was rhinovirus, respiratory syncytial virus, and enterovirus, but only one had actually had influenza. Now, the study, however, did not find any difference in outcomes between COVID-19 patients with and without other infections. So that's very encouraging. But the study was very small to make any final conclusions. Now, studies in Europe in the past have shown that being infected with influenza seemed to have a reduced chance of also having another respiratory virus like rhinovirus, maybe providing some type of protective effect. So again, could having COVID prevent you from having the flu, or vice versa? Now, the FDA has issued emergency use authorizations for flu/COVID combination tests. Now, I don't know if those tests are going to tell you if you have one or the other, or if that it's positive. Like if you test positive, you either have the flu or you have COVID, stay home, and that's it. So more information on that as I find out about it. But again, it's an emergency use authorization to be able to combine the tests into one as opposed to requiring two separate tests. Now, of course, the pharmaceutical companies are gearing up to vaccinate millions of people for the flu, basically planning for 20 million more vaccines than last year. But what if it isn't necessary? What if people don't need to be vaccinated because we're not going to get a massive outbreak of the flu this year? Okay? So let's discuss tomorrow more on flu vaccines and what we can potentially expect having COVID and flu seasons combine in the coming months. So on that note, lots to think about, and definitely things to share with other people. So if this is a topic that you've been discussing with friends about getting vaccinated for the flu or not getting vaccinated or worrying about if getting both, share this with your friends, tag them in this video, and have them watch tomorrow because we'll talk more about that. So I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another Live in 5.